this afternoon? That song said we are to follow the steps of Jesus wherever they go. And in the regards to that missionary that's being held ransom, we know that God's got his hand on him, so he's going to protect him and his family. Continue to pray for that. That's horrible. All right, so I'm going to start tonight with, I'm going to do a subject study basically on compassion. So that's where the Lord led me this week. I think we can all connect in our minds what compassion is. We may have different times in our lives when we have shown compassion on somebody or have had compassion shown on us. For me, I'll just kind of speak out a little bit on that. I don't usually talk about this ever. 5 years ago, I lost my mom tragically, okay? And that's the moment, whenever I think about compassion, that always comes to my mind because there's so many people in my life that showed compassion on me, specifically this church. So whenever I think about that, that moves me in a way that I can't even talk about, really, because showing compassion on somebody can really change their life, you know. So I'm sure you guys have maybe something that you can think of that you've shown compassion on somebody or has compassion shown on you. So when I think about compassion, I told the kids about this Wednesday night. You might have a definition in your mind what compassion is, and I've got kind of what I think. And compassion to me is your hurt at my heart, right? So we're going to talk about that tonight a little bit. 2 Corinthians chapter 1, verses 3 through 4, the Father of mercies and the God of all comfort, that we may be able to comfort them which are in any trouble. Lamentations 3, 22 through 23. It is of the Lord's mercies that we are not consumed, because of his compassions fail not. Now remind you, this is talking about Jeremiah speaking here right after Israel's fall. So in the darkest times in Israel's history, okay? So I'm going to read that one more time. It is of the Lord's mercies that we are not consumed, because his compassions fail not. So despite all the judgment and suffering, Jeremiah is expressing the Lord's mercies and compassions here while he is lamenting over one of the darkest times in Israel's history. Or the Lord's mercies and compassion are the only reason why Israel hasn't been completely destroyed. And to their eyes, they are completely destroyed. To Jeremiah's, they're not. Psalms 145, 8 through 9. The Lord is gracious and full of compassion, slow to anger, and of great mercy. Biblical compassion is more than feeling sympathy. It is being moved to action by love. So the word action is what I'm going to focus on a lot tonight. Are we showing compassion that moves us to action, right? So in my instance, when my mom passed away, almost everybody in here and everybody in my immediate life was moved to action, right? And that was an event that will move people to action. I'm going to read a story now. Some of you may have heard it, some of you may not have. There was a teacher named Miss Thompson. As she stood in front of her 5th grade class on the very first day of school, she told the kids a lie. Like most teachers, she looked at her students and said that she loved them all the same. But that was impossible, because there in the front row, something to see, was a little boy named Teddy. Teddy Stoddard was his name. Now, this is a true story. Miss Thompson had watched Teddy the year before and noticed he didn't play really well with other children. His clothes were messy, and he always seemed to need a bath. Teddy could be unpleasant at times, and it got to the point where Miss Thompson would actually take delight in marking his papers with a broad red pen, making bold X's and then putting a big F on the top of his papers. At the school where Miss Thompson taught, she was required to review each child's past records, and she put Teddy's off until the last. However, when she reviewed his file, she was in for a surprise. Teddy's 1st grade teacher wrote, "Teddy's a bright child with a ready laugh. He does his work neatly and has good manners. He is a joy to be around." His 2nd grade teacher wrote, "Teddy is an excellent student, well liked by his classmates, but he is troubled because his mother has a terminal illness and life at home has got to be a struggle." His 3rd grade teacher had wrote, "His mother's death has been hard on him. He tries to do his best, but his father doesn't show much interest, and his home life will soon affect him if steps aren't taken." Teddy's 4th grade teacher wrote, "Teddy is withdrawn and doesn't show much interest in school. He doesn't have many friends and sometimes sleeps in class." By now, Miss Thompson realized the problem and was ashamed of herself. She felt even worse when her students brought her Christmas presents, wrapped in beautiful ribbons and bright paper, except for Teddy's. His was clumsily wrapped in heavy brown paper with a grocery bag. Miss Thompson took pains to open it in the middle of the other presents. Some of the children started to laugh when she found a rhinestone bracelet with some of the stones missing in a bottle that was 1/4 full of perfume. But she stifled the children's laughter when she exclaimed how pretty the bracelet was, putting it on and dabbing on some of the perfume on her wrist. Teddy stayed after school that day, just long enough to say, "Miss Thompson, today you smell like my mom used to." After the children left, she cried for at least an hour. On that very day, she quit teaching. She quit reading, writing, and arithmetic, and instead she began to teach children. She paid particular attention to Teddy as she worked with him. His mind seemed to come alive. The more she encouraged him, the faster he responded. By the end of the year, Teddy had become one of the smartest children in the class. And despite her lie, that she would have loved all the children the same, Teddy became one of her favorites. A year later, she found a note under her door from Teddy, telling her that she was still the best teacher she ever had in his whole life. 6 years went by before she got another note from Teddy. He then wrote that he had finished high school, third in his class, and she was still the best teacher he had ever had. 4 years after that, she got another letter saying that while things had been tough, he had stayed in school, had stuck with it, and would soon graduate from college with the highest honors. Again, he assured Miss Thompson that she was still the best and favorite teacher he had ever had. 4 more years passed, and yet another letter had came. This time, he explained that after he got his bachelor's degree, he had decided to go a little further. The letter explained that she was still the best and favorite teacher he had ever had, but now his name was no longer Theodore F. Stoddard, M.D. But the story doesn't end there. You see, there was yet one more letter that spring. Teddy said he had met this girl and was going to be married. He explained that his father had died a couple years ago, and he was wondering if Miss Thompson might agree to sit in the place at the wedding that his mom would have sat at. Of course, Miss Thompson did and said, and guess what? She wore that bracelet, the one with several rhinestones missing, and she made sure that she was wearing perfume that Teddy remembered his mother wearing on their last Christmas together. They hugged each other, and Dr. Stoddard whispered in her ear, "Thank you, Miss Thompson, for believing in me. Thank you so much for making me feel important and showing me that I can make a difference." That's compassion. Amen. That compassion shown on that young man from a teacher in 5th grade changed his entire life. So now I want to look at the compassion of Christ. Jesus didn't just feel compassion, he acted on it. Matthew 14:14 through 16. And Jesus went forth and saw a great multitude and was moved with compassion toward them. And he healed their sick. And when it was evening, his disciples came to him and said, "This is a desert place. The time is now past. Send the multitude away, that they may go into the villages and buy themselves victuals." Mark 6:34. And Jesus, when he came out, saw much people and was moved with compassion toward them, because they were as sheep not having a shepherd. Matthew 9:36. But when he saw the multitudes, he was moved with compassion on them, because they fainted and were scattered abroad as sheep having no shepherd. And I asked the kid this on Wednesday night, what are the sheep? They all play Minecraft. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Minecraft. It's a video game. Kids love it. There's sheep in there, and you got to go catch them. Don't ask me how that works, but that's what they do. So, Jesus had seen the multitudes. So, a word that was common that I tried to put emphasis on in those 3 verses was Jesus went forth and saw. Jesus, when he came out, saw. But when he saw the multitudes, he was moved with compassion on them. Jesus perceived with his eyes and acted with his heart. Lamentations 3:51. Mine eye affecteth mine heart, because of all the daughters of my city. Matthew 15:32. Then Jesus called his disciples unto him and said, I have compassion on the multitude and have nothing to eat, and I will not send them away fasting, lest they faint in the way. Mark 1:40 through 41. And there came a leper to him, beseeching him, and kneeling down to him, and saying unto him, If thou wilt, thou canst make me clean. Jesus, moved with compassion, put forth his hand and touched him, and saith unto him, I will, be thou clean. Amen. Jesus had compassion on the outcasted. Miss Thompson had compassion on the outcasted. Luke 10:25 through 37. And behold, a certain lawyer stood up and tempted him, saying, Master, what shall I do to inherit eternal life? He said unto him, What is written in the law? How readest thou? And he answering, saying, Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy strength, and with all thy mind, and thy neighbor as thyself. And he said unto him, Thou hast answered right, this do, and thou shalt live. But he, willing to justify himself, said unto Jesus, Who is my neighbor? And Jesus answering said, A certain man went down from Jerusalem to Jericho, and fell among thieves, which stripped him of his raiment, and wounded him, and departed, leaving him half dead. And by chance there came down a certain priest that way. And when he saw him, he passed by on the other side. And likewise a Levite, when he was at that place, came and looked down on him and passed by on the other side. But a certain Samaritan, as he journeyed, came where he was. And when he saw him, he had compassion on him. And when he went to him, bound up his wounds, pouring in oil and wine, and set him on his own beast, and brought him to an inn, and took care of him. And on the morrow, when he departed, he took out 2 pence, and gave them to the host, and said unto him, Take care of him. Whatsoever thou spendest more, when I come again, I will repay you. Which now of these 3 blinkest thou? Was neighbor unto him that fell among the thieves? And he said, He that showed mercy on him. Then said Jesus unto him, Go, and do thou likewise. This teaches us that true compassion crosses social and cultural boundaries. It's not just a feeling, but a willingness to sacrifice time, effort, and resources, which not many of us have a lot of time to give, do we? We're all extremely busy. At the end of the day, when I get home, exhausted. I've also got a toddler, even more exhausted. Those of you that have kids, current toddlers, bless your soul. Jesus concludes with the command, Go and do thou likewise, calling us to show the same kind of mercy and compassion in our daily lives. Compassion on the grieving. Luke 7:13-15. He had compassion on her and said, Weep not. He stepped into her pain and brought hope in the midst of heartbreak. His compassion brought life where there was loss. Your heart, your hurt in my heart. John 11:33-35. Jesus wept. Jesus knew he was going to raise Lazarus from the dead. He still felt the pain of those around him. Be present for the grieving, visit, write, sit with them in silence if needed. We are called to show compassion. Compassion is a command, not a choice. Colossians 3:12. Put on, therefore, as the elect of God, holy and beloved, bowels of mercies, kindness, humbleness of mind, meekness, longsuffering. 1 Peter 3:8. Finally, be ye all of one mind, having compassion one of another. Love as brethren, be pitiful, be courteous. This reminds us that compassion isn't optional. It's a mark of someone who belongs to God, along with kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience. Compassion should be part of our daily character, shown in how we treat others. Compassion through forgiveness. Ephesians 4:32, and be ye kind one to another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, even as God for Christ's sake hath forgiven you. Be ye therefore merciful, as your Father also is merciful. Let go of bitterness. Forgiveness is one of the highest forms of compassion. 1 John 3:17-18. But whoso hath this world's good, and seeth his brother have need. Let me read that one more time, because it kind of caught me up first. But whoso hath this world's good. If you say that really fast, in your mind it's like, what does that mean? Right. But whoso hath this world's good, who's doing well in this world? Financially, stability. And seeth his brother have need. Who's doing well in this world and sees someone who's in need? And shutteth up his bowels of compassion from him. How dwelleth the love of God in him? If you see someone in need and you shut up your resources, what's your love of God in you? My little children, let us not love in word, neither in tongue, but in deed and in truth. He that hath pity lendeth unto the Lord, Proverbs 19:17. Support someone, financially or with your time. Teach your family to give with compassion. Micah 6:8. He hath showed thee, O man, what is good, and what doth the Lord require of thee, but to do justly, and love mercy, and to walk humbly with thy God. In a world where pride, self-interest, and judgment are common, this verse calls us to a higher standard. Do justly, live with integrity, fairness, and honesty in your relationships, work, and decisions. Love mercy, not just to feel it, but seek opportunities to show compassion. That's kind of got me when I was doing this. Seek opportunities. Right. Not just to feel it, but to seek opportunities to show compassion, forgive quickly, and help the hurting. Walk humbly. Stay dependent on God, remembering that his mercy is the reason we can extend mercy to others. This verse encourages us to make compassion a lifestyle, not just a moment. Galatians 6:2. Bear ye one another's burdens, and so fulfill the law of Christ. When we do this, we're not just being nice. We're living out the love of Christ. Compassion often requires time, effort, and sacrifice, but it fulfills the very heart of Jesus' teachings. And with this lesson, I got convicted with this significantly, because a lot of times, I just go to work, do my thing, and my thing isn't God's thing. I need to be doing God's thing and fulfilling the heart of Jesus' teachings. So the challenge that I've challenged myself was is to pick somebody this week to intentionally show compassion to. Pray daily, the Lord, help me love like you love. And that's hard to do because God is love, and he showed a lot of it. So that's what I have this afternoon. I can pray to dismiss us, or...
Yeah, all three of y'all today have caught me off guard the way you end you're like you're teaching along and boom, you're done. So anyway, I was writing that last. Let me just say what he said. The last thing, pick someone, intentionally pick someone to have compassion on this week. So that was good. I appreciate the lesson, Brother Nick. It was very, very heartfelt lesson, and you can tell you digested the material before you presented it. So. A great reminder to us as God's people. Jesus was a humble man, and Jesus looked at individuals and at people in a way that the world does not. So that's what makes us different. It's like we had the visitor come in this morning, Maddie from India, who's just popped in to visit us. But, there's an opportunity there. Just pray for us. We're going to try. We've got a few weeks before he's actually leaving this area, and I'm not real sure he's saved, so I'm going to try. But try to get with him and do some quick Bible lessons and make sure he knows the Lord. So we'll see how that works out. But anyway, we got to look for those opportunities. I guess that'll be mine. So pray for me as I try to reach out to Maddie this week and at least get one or two lessons in with him. So anyway, very open to God right now. Anybody else have a thought? Or one other thing I wanted to mention. I wanted you to consider, we're actually had a couple of missionaries that dropped off. I want us to consider adding one or two missionaries, and me and Brother Clayton had talked about maybe bringing on Brother Randy Taylor, who is a missionary, bringing him into our monthly support right now. And so we can be praying about that. If there's other missionaries that's been on your mind, I post the letters that come in on the backboard. I don't always read them out loud, but I've thought a lot about that, and I know, like Brother Nick said, we're all busy and this and that, but, when I get the letters in, which come through this mailbox, I think to myself, someone took the time to write this and share their ministry and share their needs, and I need to take the time to at least read it and get an idea of what's going on. So, if we can I just want to remind us, try to pop in and look at those missionary letters from time to time, and just, and if there's a need that comes to your heart and mind from what you see, bring a prayer request to us, and if it's a financial need, we can try to help with that as well. So that was something else I wanted to say. Patricia. Okay. Marilyn's brother? Okay. 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 All right, so it's Tony Henderson's wife, Marilyn, and she's the daughter of Ernest and Ernestine Hendricks, which they've been homebound for quite some time now. Pray for them as well. If you think about it, maybe someone give them a call this week and check on them. That'd be one we can have compassion on, Brother Nick. So they're the only ones I know of in our membership that really is kind of homebound right now. Brother Mike does get out. He's been here 3 Sundays in a row. I gave him a ribbon today. It was a joke, but I told him, I'm glad you're feeling better because you made 3 Sundays in a row, and he usually hurts bad enough that he can't get out. So, but anyway, pray for Brother Mike. So, Brother Ernest and Ernestine's son, who's Marilyn's brother, is having kidney issues. So pray for him. Clayton is his name. Oh, is he? Okay. That's not good. All right, anybody else? Okay. Well, I hope everybody has a good week. See everybody Wednesday night, Lord willing. And love y'all. and pray for me, and I'll pray for you, okay?